This is my real life on a low income, one unfortunate disaster to the next. Good afternoon, besties. It is my mid-morning, early afternoon coffee, and we are not in the car today. We're not in the car, and we'll go over why in a minute. However, I wanted to make sure that all my newbies who are clicking on this channel or watching this video for the first time know. My name is Amanda. I'm 35 years old. I live in Oregon, and I have been showing you guys my real life on a low income for the last 3 years. I have been cash stuffing, showing you sinking funds, savings challenges, talking about low income finance, and I've also been talking about my life in vlogs, showing my face, not just my hands, okay? However, I have some updates to share with you, and I also have some things that I really want to talk about because of the fact that I seem to have one disaster after the next, okay? And it just never seems to end. And I'm kind of in a situation now. So before we get into that, I wanted to show you with you guys a job update. So if you don't know already, I drive for a living. I drive full-time for a living. I've done it for 5 years. I do all of the gig apps, DoorDash, Uber Eats. I do Instacart, Spark. I also have the ability to do rideshare, such as Uber and Lyft. Currently, right now, I do not have a car that is young enough to be able to do that. Some of you may have asked, well, where did that other car go? Well, my husband and I were in an accident in December, at the beginning of December of last year. So just a few months ago, we were driving my 2020 Kia Sportage in some very crucial weather, and unfortunately, due to fog, we were in an accident which totaled the car. I have been asked on many occasions if not having a car payment has helped, and I'm going to tell you yes and no. Yes, because I don't have to pay the payment, but no, because I am going to be missing out on a pretty decent amount of income. Okay? Now, I do live in a tourist area of Oregon, and things right now here are very slow. It is not spring, it's not really summer, yet we're still dealing with snow, rain, ice, and all the things. So as things got slow, I started to think about how I'm going to pay down my debt, how I'm going to save money. If I can't do that on my regular income, what do I need to do? I'm ready to bulk up my world, right? I'm willing to bulk up the savings and pay down the credit cards. Now I only have 2 credit cards left, and that still stands. They are a smaller balance because I have already paid my credit card payments for the month. And I will say that has been very positive for me. I do have some other debts other than credit cards that I want to pay off. So I started working a night job at a pretty well-known company. And I have been having troubles finding jobs in my local area because I live in a town of 7,000 people or less. So I have to drive an hour to get to this job, and I actually really like the job. I like the people. I like the company. I like all of the things that I have done so far, things that I have done and things that I have never done. I do work technically in food for this company. However, I am learning some new things, like a new department that could open up doors for me later to work somewhere else similar. Okay, so in that, I started my orientation and I did my first week of training. We're now into week 2, and I'm really kind of feeling the dread. And the dread is not from the job, the people, or the company specifically, but it is due to the schedule. So the schedule that I am working, I work in the evenings. I tried to pick a shift where it would work with my driving schedule. I drive in the day. I don't specifically like driving at night because of, night driving not being my strong point. However, I was like, I have the evenings open. So I was told that that's what they were looking for, was evenings. I did my training week, and now I only have 2 days. 2 days on that schedule. And unfortunately, one of those shifts is like 4.5 hours. And I'm not saying I'm not going, but it's just a thought in my mind that I was like, how do I get more hours? How do I get more hours? What do I need to do to get more hours? And at this point, there may be some very small shifts that I can pick up, but I have to make sure of one of two things. I'm getting the hours, and then I'm making the drive worth it for me. Now, there is the other possibility that I have in my bag of tricks that I had talked about before, where I could drive for a living for another company, but still be able to utilize Uber and Lyft. And it would be a company that also does driving, right? So I have considered that deeply, just because I already drive for a living, and this would possibly bring me in some more money, or at least more consistent money. And as the economy changes, I'm not sure what any of this will look like. Everybody in the store that I work at currently, they're all part-time. Everyone gets anywhere between 25 to 27, maybe 28 hours a week. Now, I got a little bit of a pushback in my previous videos where I talked about Oregon saying 32 hours a week is full-time, so they have to offer you benefits. You have to work 100 hours a week at this particular location to be able to get the insurance. And that would be the main reason why I want to keep the job. However, I can tell you this, because I drive for DoorDash and I've been driving for them for 5 years, they do offer health insurance as well. I didn't know that until legitimately the other day when I actually looked into it. I know Uber offers health benefits as well. Of course, you have to pay for it out of your pocket. It's not going to be free to you, but it is an option. Now, I am losing my state health insurance. That's my last piece of any sort of assistance I get. I don't get housing help. I don't get Section 8 HUD. I don't get food stamps. But I'm still considered low income, specifically for my area and specifically for what I make. So, and your low income is possibly going to look different from mine. I think people forget that Oregon is on the West Coast, and the West Coast is very expensive. If you want to live in Washington, California, Oregon, it's going to be expensive. And even Idaho, you guys, has gotten pretty darn expensive. One of my friends lives in Idaho, and she was like, girl, you don't want to move here. There's no jobs, and housing's just as expensive as Portland area. Portland, Oregon. I don't live in Portland, Oregon. I can tell you I have. However, life just keeps lifing, right? And another revelation happened. I ended up needing to get a ride from work last night because my husband's car broke down. His car broke down, luckily in town, and I'm not exactly sure what's wrong with it. It's currently at the shop. However, disasters come in twos, okay? So I asked him to drive my car to come pick me up. It didn't happen. And we're not in my car because my car is in the shop. It needed a belt changed, and it's currently being worked on. However, it still has meant that most of the day I have been without a car. And I'm very lucky, besties, that I didn't have to work today. Very, very lucky. Okay? If I had to work the night job, I'm not sure how I would have made it home today. Not sure. It's an hour drive. Hour and 15 minutes if you're counting a little bit of traffic. So that's what I'm dreading. 2 cars in the shop. I did figure out my check from my job. I also have a check coming from another source of income to help me pay the remainder of the bills for the month. Oh my gosh, I can't even talk. The month of March. March has been weird. It's kind of been a weird month. Usually things would pick up probably around this time, and they just haven't for anybody anywhere. And they may not. However, I did have to come face to face with a situation I also didn't want to have to deal with, and that was that I did get a ride from one of Jordan's family members. And if you've watched videos in the past, you know that we weren't on talking terms with this family member. I am still kind of on the fence about that relationship, and to be honest with you guys, I am very protective over my life, especially after I learned so much about people and how people treated me during my homeless times. Okay, like when I was homeless, living on a bare piece of property in a trailer that didn't have utilities. I'm talking about the time when I slept in my car. I learned who was actually going to be there for me and who wasn't. And honestly, the dread was that the car ride would go bad. But it didn't. It didn't go perfectly. It didn't go completely smooth, but it went decent enough. I was essentially going to pay for a Lyft home because Lyft is a little cheaper than Uber, but I guess a free ride is a free ride. However, I'm still on the fence, and I feel like that should be fair. And I will tell you this, it is okay to have boundaries. It's okay to have tight boundaries with people, especially people that you're around and that you feel like they should know about these boundaries. So, Jordan is on the way to pick up my car. It's a disaster, right? He's gonna pick up my car. I am not sure what's happening with his car. I will tell you this, we still need to have 2 cars for this household, especially with the hour drive one way and an hour back, so 2 hours of driving just to work. We really need the 2 cars, especially when our schedules are a little bit different. I will say this as well. I really, really want this evening job to work out. I am going to call and talk to my boss today to try to figure out this hour thing, and try to figure out, did we utilize all the training hours and that's why I'm only getting that 1 day a week. I know, because I've been a GM or an assistant manager to many jobs now, I know that they only give you so many. So maybe that's the case. I also wanted to mention as well that I am working on getting the cars fixed. And then I'm also looking into this driving job. Not because I think it's going to be any better per se, but it's something that I enjoy doing. And I may drive and do that job in the morning and still work this job in the evening. I don't know. Life is so uncertain these days. And I do live in a tourist area, so we have to think of that as well. If I'm driving for a living, I can make more money in the late spring through the summer through maybe September, October. I also have been asked what is going to happen if I drive that far for work in the wintertime, and I haven't gotten there yet. I don't know. I don't know what that would look like. I posted my car for sale recently, mostly because it's a gas guzzler, and if I'm going to be driving for a living, which I do, I drive for a living, right? I need something a little bit more fuel efficient than, a big honkin' SUV. However, I will say this as well. I am considering possibly getting a very tiny loan if I have to, in order to get myself a better vehicle. Obviously that would be in the works after I pay off the credit cards, because that's number one for me. And then I would want to start slowing down my debt payoff so I can start saving for life things, right? Like emergencies like this one. The other thing that I wanted to mention as well is that saving for another car has definitely been on my mind lately, and I can do that in my car maintenance envelope, because if I'm going to sell that car that I'm driving, I want to have some sort of money to go towards the next car. Life just keeps lifing, and just remember, if you're going through the thick of it, I am too. I am literally on this channel to show you guys that there are people out there dealing with the same things you are, and life just keeps lifing. So you can only do what you can with what you got, because it's all you have to work with, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys. Oh, hey, by the way, I forgot to mention something. If you are on a debt-free journey and you have to take a little bit of a pause to pile up that money in case something happens, that's okay too. Bye, guys.